But I'd like to introduce, and it's a huge privilege to have this gentleman. We had CCP Fozzie here last year, and this next gentleman definitely lives up to his reputation as well. A big welcome to CCP Rise.
Hello, how y'all doing? Good, good. Before I get started, I just want to say I heard tell from Fozzie and others that have been down here that this is a very special event and that you guys are special people. And last night, in a good way, and last night you totally proved it. Got a lot of friendship, some of it too aggressive, Chimera, and I got a signed hat from an Eve streamer and made a lot of friends. So that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend. Thanks so much for the Australian hospitality. It's awesome. So. For this presentation, I'm CCP Rise, and before I get started, I wanted to give a little shout out to my team and give you a short introduction. I'm on Team Pirate Unicorns, now working on mostly on the new player experience, but as I've been telling people here, most of game design is kind of involved in a lot of different projects. So I was part of the nullsec task force working on a lot of the Phoebe changes. I do a lot of balance stuff still, the new destroyers, and a whole lot of other things. New player experience is the focus. So this is kind of my people. Yeah, so that's us. So for what I'm gonna do in this presentation, I decided to do something a little different. The last two presentations I've done. By the way, I'm going fast because we are, as he said, on a timeline, but for a good reason, as you'll see pretty soon. For the last couple of presentations I did new player experience overviews, one in Vegas and one at FanFest last year, and so that's kind of been talked about a lot. And you guys also get to hear a lot of awesome kind of vision and kind of high-level planning stuff from Siegel. So I decided to kind of take a different angle, and one of the things we do internally after we have releases now, after expansions, we do these show and tells, where everybody who kind of has worked on stuff within their teams or individually brings everything kind of into a room and shows everybody how it's gone and talks about what the results were and what they've learned. And it's a lot of fun, and I thought you guys would actually like it, so I basically hijacked all the content from our most recent internal presentation and brought it to you guys to kind of talk about a lot of the stuff going on in the game right now and how it's all been. So it's going to be a lot of graphs and kind of results for how things are going, and hopefully that's interesting to you guys. And then I have some more future-oriented stuff towards the end. So to start out, I'm going to focus on stuff that my team's working on. One of the big ones is we just released this notifications feature. This was pretty interesting to work on. We were a little terrified after tooltips that we would just make people hate us with a lot of pop-up spam and really obnoxious stuff, but we felt it was really important to do this. We need better feedback across the entire game, especially for new players, so it was really important for us to get this feature in. And it's been going really well. We're really excited. We did something also very new with this. We ran it as a beta opt-in to start, which is something we haven't done at least in a very long time, maybe ever. And basically that meant for the first release, which was in Phoebe, no, in Hyperion, we released it as opt-in. So people could check a box and participate, and despite only mentioning this in a dev blog and maybe in one in-development video, we got almost 40,000 people to opt into it, which is amazing. So we got a ton of great feedback and got a lot of data about how people were using it. And that went really well, and then after we released it, we've only had 2,500 people disable it in the entire game, even though it starts as default enabled, which is a huge success for us. It means people don't actually hate it and we're not bothering them. That's pretty amazing. Considering usually, when we release UI-oriented features that aren't little things from Carker, people kind of go ballistic, and so this was pretty awesome. Like I said, yeah, you have to disable it kind of in this deep menu and enable it there before, but despite that, we've had less than 1% of people disable it, so that's awesome. And then when you talk about the pop-ups, we have a bunch of configuration in there, and we've had almost no one, less than 5,000 disabling the pop-ups, so I guess they're not annoying, and a little more with sound, but in general, basically, it seems like the feature is going really well, so that's pretty exciting. The other thing we did, we had some feedback as well, and everybody just wants more features in it, so that's something we're definitely looking into. We'll probably have kill mails and contract notifications added for the next release, and then maybe industry for then, we're not sure, but adding more stuff to it as we go, which is always good. The other big thing we did recently on my team was remove the skill queue. Do you guys like that okay, the removing limit? This was super exciting for us. This kind of change is a really interesting kind of indication of where Eve development is right now, partly thanks to Seagull and Scarpia and kind of a lot of things coming together in a really cool way. But this change is something that people have at least suggested or pushed for a long time. There was a team working on a lot of player experience-oriented stuff about a year and a half ago that was pushing for this change and got held up, and kind of people were a little too nervous, and so they held off. But now we're in a place where we have Seagull saying, if this makes the game better for the people playing it, just go for it. And so that's really, really exciting, not only because this change is super awesome, but also because it's an indication of kind of where we're at and what kind of changes we're able to make. Some little stats on this. The average active skill queue length now is just over 12 skills. Before we made this change, it was just over 1. So obviously a lot of skills being added to queues. The average active training queue hours went from 160 to 1,277. So obviously people using the feature, which shouldn't be so surprising. And actually here I've heard a ton of feedback about how that's affecting people already. You're able to go to Eve Down Under and not stress about your characters while you're gone, which is amazing. So this has been really, really fun to get to do. And then let's move on a bit from my team. Another big set of changes we made recently with some interesting stats around them is sensor overlay and wormhole changes. So yeah, good. In Hyperion, there was a whole bunch of wormhole balance, including the distance from wormholes by mass, and also the effect rebalancing, along with a bunch of other things. And then in Phoebe, they reworked the sensor overlay. We have a whole bunch of new stuff in there. And so it's interesting to see what the effects of all these changes have been. When we talk about the sensor overlay, this is a graph of people entering all forms of sites in the game. And you can see how big this jump is. It's almost double the amount of people entering sites. We think that's mostly because of the sensor overlay, just giving them better information about what sites are available. And there has been some changes to the value of some sites. The low-class wormholes added some value, so there's some explanation there. But a really interesting piece to look at is landmarks. You should be able to see here, there's the landmark highlighted in the sensor overlay here. These are sites that don't usually have any actual value in terms of ISK or power. They're just flavor and story and stuff like that. And it ranges a bit, but basically before, there was this many people entering them, and you can see the hop in Phoebe. So there's almost 3 times as many people entering landmark sites just because of putting them in the sensor overlay. So that's very interesting for us. Definitely a good case for making things more visual in space, letting people know what kind of content we have in the game. And then for wormholes, this is wormhole jumps across a lot of time. So this goes back as far as Rubicon. At the very end there, you see Phoebe. And just have these in here to kind of show, it's interesting, the contrast between some of the feedback and response to some of the changes. Obviously, there was a bit of a panic about the mass changes of wormholes initially. But as you can see, activity has actually gone up, especially once the sensor overlay changes went in. But even back by Hyperion, there wasn't really a drop. And then this is the amount of PvP in wormholes, which is also going up. So those are both really good things, and indicate that we're not in big trouble here, even though there's some forum threads that make it seem like maybe we are. And now, one of my favorite topics, ship balance. Have some cool stats here. As I said, I'm working on ship balance. We've been doing a lot of pretty awesome big stuff lately. So the tier side effort has scaled back just a little bit, but of course we're always watching balance. We're always going to be making changes. We're working on the module tier side stuff now, but we're also always looking at ships, and we've made some changes in the last couple of releases. We're obviously about to release some new ships, and there'll be more balance changes coming all the time, but some interesting stuff on the state of balance. There's a ship called an Ishtar. This is got a lot of letters on it that are hard for you guys to read, but basically each one of the colors is a popular doctrine ship, or at least a popular nullsec, basically just a popular ship over the last couple years. This goes back to July 2012, and so the green at the start of the graph is Drakes, and then you have Hurricanes there in purple. The red just below that is Tengus, and then you get into Maelstroms below that, and then some other, we have Dominics in here, as well as Archon and Zealot, and then blue is Ishtar. So you can see kind of where we're at with that, and I know you guys have been giving us a lot of feedback about that. Not telling you we're changing anything right this second, but obviously this graph is not really in a sustainable place, so there may be some things we need to look at here. But it's pretty interesting to see. Yeah. Another interesting, so this is PvP damage by type. Ishtars are doing about 8% of all the PvP damage in the game right now. And then if you add in Dominic's, Gila, Vexor, and Navy Vexor, you get up to almost 15% of the total damage in the game. So maybe drones as a whole need a little bit of a look. Just below that, we have... Yeah, sorry, buddy. Had to talk with him earlier. Tech 3 cruisers about 10%, Capitals another 10%, bombers doing about 5%. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff that's not represented here, but you can see drones are a pretty significant part of what's happening in PvP right now, and so are Tech 3 cruisers. But that doesn't mean we're going to go out and necessarily nerf them to the ground. It's just interesting to see. Another way to look at this is actual attackers. So this is how many people are actually using the ship rather than how much damage the ships are doing. And interestingly enough, Tengu's at the top with 130,000 attackers in the last 30 days. Ishtar's just below that, and then a huge drop down to Harpies, Proteus, and Caracal. So again, popular ships are very popular right now. Tengu's and Ishtars getting used in terms of how many people are flying them a lot more than a lot of other stuff. So another cool piece to think about. Oh, and Purifier, interestingly. And then another way to look at this, which is cool, is weapon distribution. So we took, I think this is the top, it's either the top 20 or the top 50, I can't remember, I don't have the notes, but it's fine. Weapon, damage done by weapon type, and then consolidated them based on what type of weapon. So we have drones doing, in the top 50, 35.5% of damage, and then hybrids at 25, missiles at 15, projectiles at 15, and energy down at 9. So, I don't know, make of that what you will. This is obviously never going to be in a place where you have 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, but maybe 35 is a little high. We'll see. Think so? Yeah. And then a couple little balance things that are, to me, are close to my heart because they always seem to come up. The nests are always a point of contention. Worst ship in the game, which we're going to probably give one new bonus every release forever. But people are always surprised to find out, if you look here, this is a graph of jumps made by ships. Nestor is in red, orange is Balgorns, and blue is Barguests. So they're all right around the same place. People often think of the Balgorn as a very healthy and well-balanced ship that's pretty powerful. They think of the Nestor as garbage, but you can see the Nestor's actually got more activity than the Balgorn does. So make of that what you will. But then, of course, you can always kind of paint the picture however you like using statistics. This is all the Sisters of Eve ships. Blue is the Astero. This is jumps again. Red is the Stratios, and orange is the Nestor. Can you see it? So, but the Astero is actually the second most popular ship in the game by jumps, just behind the Tengu. And another one that often comes up is the Rapid Light Missile Launcher. This is another of close to my heart changes. And this graph is just cool to look at. You can see where the midpoint is there, where it's up high. That was where we were starting to get worried that it was a little powerful, and we made the changes to it, added the reload timer, changed the mechanic a bit. And then the dip after that is people going, we hate you, CCP Rise, this is the worst thing in the world. And then since then, people thought, actually it's still kind of good, and the damage has just been going up and up and up and up. So it's actually more OP now than it was before we rebalanced it. I guess that's a victory for you guys on the forums, since we made some tweaks to the damage and stuff after we initially proposed the changes. It's another thing we might have to look at eventually, because these are very, very effective and popular. I'm going to get a little water, maybe. I don't have any, never mind. It's all right. And last section I want to talk about here is thanks man. What time is it? 9:45. Oh my God. I got to speed up. No time for water. All right, industry stuff. We wanted to remove slots without destroying Eve. It's a good goal. This is a little complicated of a graph, but basically you have stations ranked across the bottom in terms of popularity by industry activity. So the most popular industry system all the way on the left, and the 500th most popular one on the right in terms of how many jobs are active. This is the graph before we made the change, and that's percentage of jobs. So there's 0.8% of all the industry jobs in the game happening in the most popular system and then scaling down. After the change, this bounced up by about double. That's because of JITA, but you can see the graph looks more or less the same, which is pretty good news. The two big differences between before the changes and after the changes, the first one's JITA. Before the change, we had 6,500 jobs roughly in JITA in the month before we made the Christ changes. Now we're up to 32,000 jobs, so that's obviously bumped a whole lot. It's twice as many jobs as the second busiest system in the game now, and it's twice as many jobs as the busiest pre-Christ industry system. So JITA obviously a popular place to build stuff, but that's, just go back for 1 second, that's not necessarily a bad thing. One of the big goals for the industry changes was to make it so that people would actually be able to do jobs even when they were losing money on them, because we didn't want people blocked, new players blocked by slots even when they wanted to be building stuff just because they wanted to build stuff. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of these jobs are probably not profitable, and that's fine. The other big change is distribution. We've had, these are, in that graph before, this is the 1,000th and 2,000th most popular systems, and you can see post changes we have more jobs than we did before in the less popular systems. So that's good. That means we have more distribution across the game in terms of industry activity. So that's good. So yeah, we succeeded. Thanks, Michael Jackson. And then quickly want to mention teams. It's a little, not quite as bright of a story. The goal was to get a little more depth in in-game industry and also to have an incentive to pull people together. The idea was that people would pull together around good industry systems where teams were, and that would act as kind of a pull against the push of the cost scaling that replaced the slot system. It didn't quite work out. This is the amount of teams being used for each of these types of jobs. So 8% of industry jobs are making use of teams, and almost 0% are making use of teams for research and copying. We obviously haven't implemented them yet for invention. So we're not doing so good here. This is something we'll probably be looking at soon. I don't know what exactly we're going to change, but obviously we want this to be a more popular feature, I guess you could say, more useful. All right. I'm going to skip this because we're really low on time, and I was going to talk a little bit about the new direct input controls, the WASD. This is me flying around a thorax with WASD. You guys, if you haven't seen that we've done this, it's pretty interesting stuff. Definitely go check out Nullerboard's dev blog. Yeah, I'm going to skip it because we don't have time, but it's fine. I will say again, this is how I think of Seagull. This is another type of change that we couldn't have made before, and we're very excited to be able to do. NP user testing, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is something new, and I hope you guys can see it. Can we get lights down at all a little tiny bit to be good? So one thing that people didn't actually talk about too much is in the recent Seagull Coming in RIA blog, there was one line that said we're working on the map. People didn't notice that too much, it seems like. There's obviously a lot of stuff to freak out about in there. So I just wanted to play a little video about the map and see what you guys think. Looks pretty normal. Oh my God. And hang in there a sec, we're not quite done. So, now this is pretty cool. We're zooming from star map to solar system map. It's really awesome. But showed this to some guys the other night before the presentation to see what they thought, and they were like, this is really cool, but I still probably won't use it. So I'll jump to the next slide here. We're actually working on getting a 2D tactical map into the client so that you don't always have to use .land if you don't want to. And this is a first look kind of at where we're in pretty early stages for this. It's going to be a bit before you guys see this, maybe a couple releases, but we're in the process of figuring out how to actually map the systems with the least kind of overlap. There's a lot of technical stuff that the programmer on my team is doing that I don't understand, and it's pretty cool. He talks about math every morning, and I'm confused, but this should be really, really awesome, both maps, and I'm super excited. I hope you guys, you're the first ones to see that. We'll probably have a devlog about the 3D map coming relatively soon. There's going to be a beta opt-in, like we did for notifications for the star map, or the 3D map, universe map, coming, I think, in RIA. So you guys will get your hands on this soon. and we'll be tuning and using your feedback and stuff, so definitely check it out. Yeah, we want to make it better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, with that, yeah, we're what? Ahead of time. I thought we were, what time is it?
Quarter to 10. So we're good.
What? I thought it was.
Yeah, we're good. You're good.
Should we do it now?
We can do it now? No, we're good. It's quarter to 10.
Yeah. Are we doing quarter to 10 or quarter to 11?
10:30 is what's going on.
Oh my God.
We've got plenty of time.
I'm an hour.
No, half an hour early. Or 15 minutes early. You're doing good. Sorry. You're doing beautifully, sir. We've got a really, this is a world exclusive. We obviously had some world exclusive-y stuff there, some sort of previews on stuff, but we have a world exclusive that is, we're on the strict instructions that it has to go out, as in we want to show you guys before 10:30, because the rest of the world is going to find out at 10:30. So CCP Rise was under strict instructions to make sure we finish prior to 10:30. But you've done beautifully and sped through it, dude. So we
I went fast.
You went really good. So there you go. That's why we're all sort of a bit panicked, because, like I said, the gods in CCP marketing said it's going to go live on the world in 40 minutes time. So that's why we're getting excited. We want to show you something that is world exclusive. So what we might do then, since we've got a little bit of time, is we weren't expecting to do any Q&A.
Yeah, good idea.
So basically, we've seen some what has happened, a bit of graph porn there, and it's awesome to see what these guys see internally, and then obviously what they've done or what they plan to do. Coming up very shortly, so awesome.
Sorry for racing through.
I was
I've been permanently confused about what time it is and what's happening in my life since I arrived in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. It's upside down. But yeah, no, seriously, guys, we will show it fairly shortly, and then we might even show this exclusive thing that we've got on our plate.
Yeah, but let's do some Q&A. Sounds perfect. We can do that for 10 minutes or something. If you guys want to ask about any of the stuff going on in the presentation or anything else, we can do that.
And what we're going to do this year, because for those that were here last year, we did roving mics, so it was all got a bit random. What we are going to do is what they do at FanFest and get people to come to the microphone that Hammer Bogan's just set up for us. So if we have some questions from the audience, I would like to, where Dark Razor is. So do we have some questions for our distinguished guest here at CCP Rise? Questions from the audience about what we've talked about so far?
Yes, WASD is amazing.
Yeah.
When can I plug my joystick in?
Probably before too long. Nildabor is still ironing out, I think, some kinks with the keyboard controls, but it's definitely a priority for him to get gamepad and joystick support, I think, followed up pretty quickly after that releases, so soon.
Okay, come on, don't be shy, guys. It's all now starting to go into chatty mode. So what does people think of the new mappy thing? Yeah, is it good, bad, not sure? Obviously we've got a few,
And I can talk actually a little bit more about that since I was racing then. One of the big priorities and one of the big things we're doing as we're looking at the map is trying to focus a lot on usability and on the information in the map. Obviously now it's kind of random. We've had a whole bunch of stuff the map accumulated early on. Some of it's useful, some of it's not. A lot of it's confusing to use and understand. So we'll be re-looking through all of that. We'll probably hopefully get to pull a bunch of stuff out of there that's not so useful, and then work on the way that we show and select the stuff that is useful so that the map becomes a much better tool than it is now. And we're really, really excited to get to do that. I think it's a very important feature that hasn't gotten love in a long time, so hopefully we end up in a good place.
Some Kips.
Yeah. Firstly, I love the map. It's so sci-fi and very much into the more futuristic look that Eve has been leaning towards lately that I love. I mean, the thing was far too static, and I love what you're doing with it. Not so much about the MPE. I don't really have a question yet. I've got other questions I'll get to, but new player experience sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've been gathering suggestions from the Eve Down Under channel and from people like recently, and the two suggestions I've gotten so far would be with the sensor overlay. It's a useful compass, but I expected to be able to like double click on a spot and align that direction or towards that anomaly or whatever, and that's difficult to do when there's like 50,000 of them, but in sort of sparse systems that might be a good idea.
Question, dude, as opposed to statement.
Yeah, question.
Yeah? And coming up soon?
It's not about MP. Now that you've made the Rook look sexy, it's about time to make it useful as well.
That's a good question. I've been saying at events that I'm going to take on rebalancing recons for about a year now.
Yeah, I know.
And I've been busy, traveling and going to pub crawls and stuff instead of doing that. So, but it is on it's the next thing. I'm actually going to push hard to get to work a little bit more on balance than I have been because I've been so focused on this new player project. But the next thing coming up for me is definitely the recon rebalance. So hopefully we get to that really soon.
And one thing that someone pointed out to me that I realized, CCP used to give away free remaps on on the Eve's birthday and stuff like that. I don't know if that's your department, but is that coming back? And also, Plex for remaps?
So, I can't give a lot of detail there, but you guys, another change that I didn't mention here was the medical clone cost removal and grade removal, which is pretty amazing. It's like actually the most exciting change for my gameplay that's probably happened since I started in 2006, so I'm super happy about that personally. But there's the team implementing that change is looking at a whole bunch of stuff related to the way characters and skills and attributes work, and I guess I would just say the medical clone changes are not the only thing you'll be seeing in that area, and the way that remaps and attributes and skill shading in general works will probably get changes in the near future. So yeah, you can expect something to happen, I'd say. Whether or not it's exactly remaps for Plex or something, I can't say. But go on, Bam.
Bam.
Have you guys decided yet if the T3 Minmatar destroyer is going to be vertical?
Actually, I don't know. There has been major outcry for it, and it would be a bit
really
surprising
important.
if they didn't. If I get to draw it, I will make it vertical. So. But I don't know. I haven't actually seen art for the next one, so I'll find out when you do probably. Go on, Violent Man.
When it comes to
I like this distance for us.
yeah,
It's good.
maybe I can move a little bit further back. When it comes to setting up fleets, are you guys going to make it easier to manage fleet boosters and things like that? Because at the moment there's a bunch of skills that are required. It's not really provided in the wiki very, very well, and I think there's a lot of ways that it could be made better. So is that something you're going to look at?
Yeah, so there's kind of two pieces to that. I would always suggest that if you have good ideas for how to improve like the front end for things like that, send them along to Karker and Puncturus and see if they can do anything, because they love making those kinds of changes, small UI changes that can make your lives a lot easier. But on the other side, we've been hoping to get to do a lot of changes to the way boosting and links and a whole bunch of things work for a while. It's all riding on a lot of back-end technical rework that sadly Veritas was heading up, and as you may or may not know, he's just moved somewhere else. So that slowed down that work a little bit, but we're still headed there. And once that happens, the way that all of that works will change, and it should all be a lot smoother to use,
Cool.
and also should be a lot less lame because it will be on grid. But yeah, basically once this back-end stuff happens, then the way that all works and the way you manage it should all change.
All right, and if you could buff Black Ops, that'd be great.
Another feature that has been touted for at least since last Eve Down Under.
Did you have a turn?
Yes. I told them to move in front of me and they didn't. Not my fault.
Well, one question they did come.
Yeah, it's only one. Corporation and Alliance made certificates for doctrine ships. Is that something that's on the radar?
It's definitely on the radar. I don't know how likely it is to happen soon. It's something we wanted to do when we originally built the new certificate system in the ISIS. We really wanted to set up a bunch of tools there for corps and alliances to take advantage of. We didn't end up getting time to do that. One thing that definitely has changed is there's a much bigger focus from Siegel and kind of the folks more in charge now on kind of player, like us, basically giving you tools to do awesome stuff in the game rather than us trying to do it ourselves. So like I could say if we were developing certificates in ISIS now, we would have done it that way, most likely. I don't know if that means that we'll go back and get to make those changes right away. There's going to be a lot of work happening on corps and alliances overall before too long, and I would hope that would get kind of wrapped into some of that work. But you know, I can't make any promises, but I agree with you. It's on the radar, I guess I would say.
Okay, thank you.
I had a message for you, Rise, from Santo Traficante. When are we getting deployable locator agents? So us pirates can use the locator agents.
I don't know. I've never... Never.
I promised I might harass you for it.
Yeah. Send an email to CCP Fuzzy.
All right, thanks.
He loves deployables and locator agents, actually. Yeah, he loves finding people. He's weird.
With the polarized weapons, are we going to get any long-range ones?
That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that. I think a lot of it depends on how the... Actually, probably not. They would be really, really strong. If you're not vulnerable to taking damage, they would be really, really powerful. So I think that the kind of the hope was that we could ship the short range ones, see how it goes, see whether or not they're useful, whether or not they're too strong, and then from there look at adding the same kind of functionality to different mods or different guns. But I know that it's a scary prospect to do long range ones, and so we deliberately stayed away from that to begin with. I don't know. I wouldn't get your hopes up, I guess.
I just wanted to ask about AFK cloaking.
Oh, God.
No, just kidding. I was just wondering more broadly with like the nullsec changes. I know CCP is taking a lot of community input in that.
Yeah.
Have you broadly got the mechanics down that you kind of like at a development level, or are you still taking input? Or
definitely
have you
still
roughly
taking,
got what
definitely
you want to
still
do?
taking input. I mean, we're really digging heavily into a lot of that work now. I'd say that there's some broad strokes and high level stuff that we do agree about, but there's a lot of stuff still to figure out, and so input is definitely still valuable. Yeah, it's definitely not all locked in place yet. We have a little ways to go.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Two more questions.
Yeah, great.
So one of the recent changes that was really good was the being able to share your overviews like through links through in-game chat. So you know, is there any possibility that you can get this? We might see the same for you know, in-game waypoints, that sort of thing.
Waypoints, like
setting destinations.
You can already do it.
I mean.
No, I mean setting destinations. So, for example, the fleet commander wants to set, you know,
like you set it for everyone rather than linking it in chat and having people click on it.
Chat, and then somebody clicks on it, and then automatically goes through.
I don't know. We like stuff like UI configuration and a lot of that kind of upfront overhead for new players. We want to make easier, but we actually want to make people in fleets have more to do rather than less. I think in general, we'd like to move towards more active involvement for fleet members, and so making convenience changes, basically anything that makes it so one person can fly a whole fleet, we'd rather move away from. So probably not.
Obviously, with the complexity that you've added with Phoebe and jumping capitals and stuff, and the new map that you're bringing, are you going to import like all the features of .lan and then like ways to optimize it and things like that, or no idea?
I don't know. We would love to. I mean, I think with a lot of that stuff, it's just a matter of what's kind of practical in terms of cost and time for us. But yes, I mean, we would like to have as much of that actually useful functionality as possible moved into the client. So I can't make, you know, I couldn't say anything about specific pieces of it, but we'll definitely be modeling a lot of the functionality off third-party stuff people are using now and getting as much as possible into client for folks.
It's totally cool. You can just volunteer Fozzie for anything. He'll totally do it.
I know.
I know these guys are queuing up, but what we'd like to do is hold your questions, guys, for now. One. Okay. One of our international guests. Come on, sir. Last question. Thank you. A gentleman from Korea, all the way from Korea.
Hello. Do you think that there will be a new wormhole in next patch?
New wormhole?
Yeah, new wormhole system like called Terra or Thera, something like that.
Yeah, there will be for sure.
Yeah, there will be. But does CCP expect that these new wormhole systems will be the new highway in nullsec and highsec as well?
Possibly. We don't know. We don't actually know. And one of the cool things about features like Thera and the system surrounding it is we don't actually know how people will use it exactly, and that's fun. But yeah, a big part of the idea is that it would be kind of an ideal way to move through wormhole space into other parts of K-space. So
it's not what CCP officially expected, right?
I don't think we have an official expectation.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Well done to our